Here we go. So welcome back to all my people on YouTube. You could go back to YouTube if you're used to the YouTube stream. You could go back there. I got it running now. So for my YouTube viewers, let me know how it looks. All right. So what's my topic for tonight? My topic for tonight is speaking about the ego. I was looking at a movie this past week. Forgot the name of the movie. It flees from me right now, but it's from the guy. You know the guy who plays in Transporter, and he also plays in the latest versions of Fast and Furious. The Furious, the martial art guy. Forgot his name, but you know he always Transporter. He's good with his hands doing the martial arts, and he's also in the Fast and Furious movies. He's in a couple of them. Well, he was in a movie. I forgot the name of the movie, but yeah, Jason Statham. That's how you say it. That guy. He was in a movie with Ray Liotta. It was something, he stole some money, and they were talking about the ego and a man's ego and how sometimes your ego allows you to or doesn't allow you to get to a certain level, you know. And I started looking into that word and really examining the word ego and what other words is associated with, and what is the relation with the word ego and the Tanakh, right? And you know, in doing my research, I came across, you know, I spoke to my brother, Chief Abdiel Ben Levy, and we started building on it, and he gave me some great pointers, and we built on it, and just started explaining certain things about ego. And what he said is, it's necessary for all of us to have ego, and I'm paraphrasing, but is how we control it, because in order to be a man, we all have ego, man and woman. We have that. But the thing is, can you control your ego? You know, it's a fine line, because sometimes when you let your ego supersede really what is it that you're supposed to be doing or how you're supposed to be operating, then that becomes dangerous. You know, a perfect example that we have before us is POTUS 45, right? His ego is way out of this world. I'm glad that my brother Zion Lex joined in, my brother Chief Avdiel. I was just explaining to them how we had spoken earlier about the ego, and how you said that is, and I'm paraphrasing, that is necessary for all of us to have one, but is the way that we control it that determines what type of person that we become. Sometimes confidence is mistaken as ego. You know, you got to have some type of self-confidence in order to accomplish certain things. You see this a lot, like in the entertainment field, or in like sports. Self-belief, having confidence. Those are things. Those are attributes that help you to become the person that you become. You got people that are not very confident, so sometimes they stay stagnant, and sometimes you need someone to come and push them along to let them know that, hey, you could accomplish whatever it is that you set out your mind to accomplish. But the ego, The ego is very unique because it borders into narcissism or narcissistic behavior. I don't know if any of you guys, read Greek mythology. I believe that's Greek mythology with I believe the character's name is not is Narcissus. I mean, that's where the name comes from, Narcissus or something like that. I forgot the name of the character. But he was so in love with himself that I believe the story is he looked into the lake and into the river, and he just stayed there staring at himself that he turned into a statue or something like that, into a statue of ice or something, or salt. The story flees me. I haven't read that stuff in a long time, but basically that's what it is. You're so in love with yourself and everything that you've done and everything that you did, and you're so pompous, about whatever it is that you've done, that you can't allow others to see greatness in you, but you have to bestow it upon yourself and see how great you are, or say or proclaim how great you are. And I spoke about this a few weeks back, which I'm going to talk about it later again, a precept in the book where it says, boast not of yourself and let other people boast of you. You know what I'm saying? So the ego and what does it consist of? So I did some research on this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to read you the definition of ego and what it means. First, let's start with what is ego. That's the question. What is ego? So before I went to ego, I looked up the word narcissistic and the definition. So narcissistic is having an excessive or erotic interest in oneself and one's physical appearance. So basically these are people we call conceited, people that are always, you're always in the mirror. You talk about how great and beautiful you look and how great your physique. And, these are things that we have to forsake. And these are things that we have to get away from, These are things that we have to also understand that are part of the things that bring our downfall. So then, what are the synonyms of the word for the word narcissistic? Synonyms are words that are similar in meaning, as the word that we just used, narcissistic. So let's look at some of the synonyms for narcissistic. Vain, right? I mean, we're the type of people that buy high brand stuff for babies that outgrow it in 3 weeks. That's perfect example of vain. The baby never going to know what it was, and that even as adults is kind of vain to put all your efforts and money into something that loses value quickly. I mean, that's just a lack of wisdom. Self-loving. Some of us will say, well, we got to love ourselves, which is true, right? But these are different definitions. But there's a self-love that's almost perverse, if you understand what I mean. It's excessive, as I said, erotic interest in oneself. It's overly excessive. Self-admiring. I'm the best. Nobody's better than me. Look at my muscles. Look at everything about me. You can't get a physique better than this. I got 2% fat. I'm working on getting it down to 1%. Self-absorbed. You're self-absorbed with yourself, with your looks. How you move up and down the street is, I can't come outside looking this way because of this, or I can't go outside looking that way because of, these are all the traits, right? Or the synonyms for a narcissistic person. Self-obsessed. You're obsessed with yourself. Conceited. We've heard that a lot in our communities. A person that's conceited, they full of themselves. They pompous. They walk with their nose in the air. No one could tell them anything. We have to be careful with that. Self-centered. Though every time, have you ever been around people that no matter what happens, the conversation always ends up being about themselves? If you're that type of person, then, and if people are telling you that you're that type of person, then that's something that you have to check in yourself, right? Because like my brother said, we all have an ego, but it's just how we check it, you know? It's just how we check it. And like I said, I don't want us to confuse ego with confidence, self-regarding, egotistical, egoist, egoistic. So these are all not ego. It's a synonym of narcissism or a narcissistic person. Ego. So this is what I'm getting to. This is today's lesson. What is ego? So now, when we look up the word ego, ego say a person's sense of self-esteem or self-importance. Origin, early 19th century, from Latin, literally means I. A person that always thinks of me, me, me. I did this. Give me credit for that. Pat me on my back. I'm the one who did this. I'm the one who did that. I'm the one that built this. I'm the one that built that. I'm the one that ordered this. I'm the one that ordered that. I. That's what ego literally means in Latin. I. You're speaking about yourself, and it's only yourself that's worth anything. Nobody else is worth anything. These are things that we have to check in ourselves. And these are things that we have to be aware of about our spirits and how we go on in everyday life. The ego is a dangerous thing. Ego is a dangerous thing. And this is why I say it's a dangerous thing, because the ego will allow you to lie. Your ego will allow you to say anything just to escape some sort of shame. You could be wrong. You understand what I'm saying? And there's nothing wrong with being wrong. Wrong is sometimes we have to learn to apologize and be wrong. But people's ego, and I'm going to get to how it translates to the Torah or to the Tanakh, because there's a word to compare to ego and narcissism in the Tanakh, and I'm going to go into a story, into history, to talk about an account of ego and narcissism. So our ego would stop us from being truthful. You know, that's why I say ego is dangerous. Ego will cost you because your pride, right? And I gave away the word because the word is pride that we're going to look into. But that's what doesn't allow you to say I'm wrong. That's what doesn't allow you to say, hey, man, you know, you were right. You were right, brother. You were right, sister. I was totally wrong. Ego will allow you to continue and to defend yourself even if you're dead wrong, even if you're caught out there. People will catch you in lies and do all that, but your ego won't allow you to lower yourself down and say, you know what, I was wrong. You know? And those are things that we have to check. These are real things that happen. Look at children, right? You have to break away from them that ego. You have to check it from young, because no child likes to be caught in a lie, right? some children, you know, they tell lies or whatever. But when you catch them, you got the ones that will continue to lie, and then you punish them so that they stop behaving in that manner, because we understand that in life you have to admit to your wrong. You know, you're not going to be right all the time, right? And sometimes these children, they continue with that behavior, and by the time they get to be adults, they're way out of line with this behavior. They're way out of line with this behavior. So those are things that we have to look into, and we have to understand. Right, they can't function. Yah's way said great points of speaking about narcissistic people. Those people can't function and operate with a codependent. They can't, because it's all about them. Now, are you a narcissist in your relationship between husband and wife? Is everything in your relationship centered around you? And everything that operates centered around you. Now, I'm not talking about Torah, because everything, that's the beginning of everything. That's our foundation. So besides Torah, in our day-to-day lives, when we are at home with our spouses, does everything center around you, Isha, or you, Ish? Isha meaning woman, Ish meaning man. Does it center around one person? And are you a narcissistic or egotistical person? And those are questions that you got to ask yourself, because relationships is about a man and a woman, right? That's what a relationship is. So it can't just be centered on one person. And then when children come into the picture, then it goes into all of that. So if you have a father that is always dressed sharp, and he's always clean, and he got jewels, and he got this, and he got that, but his children walk around like they just fell out, like they just finished picking up garbage from the garbage truck, then there might be a problem there with some type of narcissism, you know, because as parents, or as a father, you're supposed to become the protector and provide for them before you provide for yourself. And that's just the way it works. That's the law of, as they say, the law of nature, but we know that that's from God. That's something that's given to us from the Creator. Mothers, are you more into yourselves than you are into putting whatever it is that you have to put into your children, into your Yeladim? These are questions that we got to ask ourselves. And why is it that some of us function this way? These are questions that we got to ask ourselves. So I'll carry on. It says here, ego, a person's sense of self-esteem or self-importance, origin from I. What instances in the Tanakh do we experience situations where someone's ego might have gotten the best of them? Whose ego might have gotten them into a situation? First off, in this week's Sidra, we think about Pharaoh. Pharaoh's own ego, remember, he was looked at as God on earth. All the pharaohs was looked at as gods on earth, right? And speaking to my brother earlier, he said they had this ritual where they went out, you know, before the sun came up, and they ordered the sun to come up, right? And in ordering the sun to come up, it made it seem like they had this supernatural power to know when the sun will come up, and the people looked at pharaohs as being gods. So now, when it came to the instance of Pharaoh and the children of Israel, it said that the Most High God hardened Pharaoh's heart, right? He allowed his own ego to work against him. That's what God did. He allowed his own ego that he had because he thought he was God to work against him. So he just hardened his heart. Let your ego get the best of you. I'm the God of the earth. What do you mean? What God are you speaking about, Moses? Where do you want to take my slaves to? Those are my slaves. I dare you come into my court and talk about some God. Your little measly tricks, my magicians could do those tricks too. But his ego, his pride would not allow him to acknowledge that there was a God in heaven and that all things came from the Creator. You understand what I'm saying? So those are things that we have to think about. Zion Asher said, King David, how did his ego get the best of him? And the instance with Bathsheba. He was in his excellency, right? And when you look for the meaning of the word pride in Hebrew, it also means excellency, right? So he was in his excellency, looking off his rooftop, and he sees this woman, and because of his power, he saw this woman, and although she was married to a husband, his ego kicked in. I'm the king of Israel. I can have anything I want. And the instance of Bathsheba came into play, and his ego got the best of him. Now, it doesn't mean that because sometimes your ego gets the best of you that you can't come back from that, because we all, like my brother said, we all have ego. But the thing is balancing off that ego. My people over here said Vasti had an egotistical spirit. Yes. So now we have a bunch of things that are going on here. We got that. We got the instance of Ahab and Jezebel. You know, Jezebel fed Ahab's ego. You understand what I'm saying? And assisted him in doing wickedness. With the instance with what was the field of who was that? Forgot the brother's name. Naboth. It was Naboth's field, right? Naboth's field. So Jezebel said, You're the king of Israel. How is it that you sit here and you come here crying, talking about he didn't want to sell you his field or he didn't want to give you his field? So, in boosting his ego, she also assisted him in doing wickedness and costing somebody their life and causing people to lie against someone. So these are all the things that ego create, because your ego, your own self-centeredness, won't allow you to take a loss. You begin to create stories, and you would even cost people their lives. This is the danger of ego and the egotistical mind and the egotistical spirit. And these are all things that God hates, by the way. I'm not making this up. God hates all this. If you look at any, you got all these self-help gurus that have been making money off of people for years, taking philosophies from the Tanakh, wording them differently, and then put them out there and make people believe that they getting into something deep, and the Most High God has already revealed everything to us. It says there's nothing new under the sun. He said whatever has already been done, and there's nothing new. So these concepts, where you go into these Asian, these Far Eastern philosophies that tell you all this great stuff, it's already been done. Solomon already said it. Solomon already had all these sciences. He already understood all this stuff. But we want to listen to all these guys, Deepak Chopra and all these guys, and like they got some kind of new thing. All you got to do is meditate in the Lord day and night, and He'll show you what you need to find out. So we have to be very humble. It said meek and humble is the way, right? It tells us, it advises us to be a humble people. The key is to maintain a balance. Absolutely. And we get into that. Maintaining that balance is very we have to be very careful to balance ourselves out. And that's important. That's important. And I'm getting to that. We get into the connection with the Tanakh. What is comparable to ego in the Tanakh? Pride. I already let that out the bag, right? So pride. So what is pride? So the word for pride in Hebrew is ga'on. Ga'on, right? Ga'on is like excellency, haughtiness. It has different definitions. So it's how you use it, but it's all like an exalted person or someone that's exalted, right? Ga'on. So here, pride, the quality of having an excessively high opinion of oneself or one's importance. So just to be completely fair, you know, the definition of pride in English, it has like 3 different definitions. You know, when it tells you a sense of pride, like you're proud of something that you have accomplished, let's say, you know, which is not as harsh of a definition as this. The quality of having an excessively high opinion of oneself or one's importance. So you think you're more than what you really are. So you see your reality greater than what other people see it, right? So you might have thought, like, how can I explain it? Let's say all right, I looked at this movie Pearl Harbor, right? And I was looking at it. Let's say you was a cook on a Navy ship, right? But this particular Navy ship, this destroyer or whatever, single-handedly destroyed a country. Went to war, and this, just a hypothetical, this single ship destroyed the country. They had fighter jets on it. They had gunners on the guns of the ship, and every plane that came past shot it down or whatever. But you were just a cook in the bowels of the ship. You were just a cog on the ship, making sure all the sailors ate and stuff like that. And when there was wartime, you didn't know about shooting or doing any of that. But as time goes past, when you begin to tell the story, when you tell the story, you become the main factor in the story, because everybody else is dying off that could say, nah, that didn't go that way. But you become the main cog in the story. By the time years go down, you are the gunner on the ship. You were the captain. You flew a plane, and that's just how it goes. You didn't remain the cook. You became all this. So now this is your ego talking. And like I said, ego allows you to lie also, you know, to make up stories and to do certain things. So that's why we have to be careful with the ego. You know what I'm saying? And I'm sure we've seen people like that. You know, they tell stories and you be like, hold on. That didn't go like that. We didn't. I was there. You didn't do all of that. You understand what I'm saying? And that's the other thing. Pride and arrogancy. Gay I and gay on. Pride and arrogancy. LOL. So those are things also. When we do charity work, one thing we got to learn. I know we living in the age of social media, but when you do charity work, when you give to the poor and the needy, charity work is something between the person that's doing the charity and the person that's receiving the charity. It's not supposed to be to the world. Right. What some people will do for a legacy. Absolutely. I couldn't put it any better. Some people are not just happy with the legacy, the way that their legacy is written out. They have to add more to their legacy. And this is a part of pride and an exalted spirit. You understand what I'm saying? And people tend really not to like people like this. You know, and these are things that we have to think about. I hope y'all there with me. I hope y'all following me. I hope that I'm making sense to everyone. I hope I'm making sense to everyone. Okay? So, let me see here. Making sure we all on the same page. All right now. Ozzy says very on sync. Okay. But as long as they can hear me clear and they can see me clear, that's what counts, Miles. Yeah. All right, so now I gave you the definition of pride and what it means in Hebrew, ga'on, right? But some of the synonyms. That's right. A sincere, humble legacy will last longer. People, it said a good name is better than rubies, you know. And anything that could be compared onto it, you can't even compare a good name. Here it goes. So the synonyms for pride: arrogance, vanity, self-importance, hubris, conceit, conceitedness, self-love, self-adulation, self-admiration, narcissism, egotism, haughtiness, snobbery, snobbishness. So you see how all those words coincide with each other: narcissistic, ego, pride. They're all synonymous with each other. They're all synonymous with each other. They're all in the same realm, in the same meaning, in the same frame, right? And these are things that we have to be careful about: our egos and our pride. So now, well, our ego is our pride. So now, I'm going to go into some verses here. Go to the book of Proverbs chapter 8 verse 13 where it speaks about pride. Because I want to see how Solomon speaks about pride. Proverbs 8:13. It says here, the fear of Yahweh is to hate evil, right? So when we fear Yah, we hate evil. Because why? Because we walk contrary to evil. We walk in the law, statutes, and commandments of Yah. So we eschew evil. We run away from evil. Pride, it says here, pride and arrogancy and the evil way and the forward mouth do I hate. So God hates evil and he also hates pride. So it's actually speaking about wisdom. So wisdom, and this is Solomon writing it. I don't want to say God said this, but this is pride. So wisdom hates pride. Wisdom and pride can't dwell in the same space. You understand what I'm saying? Because it says, and we're going to get to that, like pride comes before the fall, right? So our pride spirit, our egotistical spirit will not allow us to humble ourselves. You know what I'm saying? It's like Kendrick Lamar says, sit down and be humble, right? He was right. You got to sometimes sit down and be humble and allow yourself to learn from someone else. Sometimes you get to a point where You can learn from like I learn from my son all the time. My sons, they teach me stuff all the time. But if I was proud, I wouldn't be able to receive anything from them. Because I would say I'm older and you're underneath me, y'all beneath me. But we can't have that type of spirit, brothers and sisters. We have to be able to learn from each other. We have to be able to learn from our spouses. We got to be able to learn from our children. These are all important things. These are all important to us to grow as a nation. It says here, let us go now to Proverbs 11, verse 2. Proverbs chapter 11, verse 2. It reads, when pride cometh, then cometh shame, but with the lowly is wisdom. When pride cometh, then cometh shame. Why? Because somebody's going to embarrass you. Somebody's going to take you off your high horse, as they say. Somebody's going to take you down from that high horse. That's right. Somebody's going to embarrass you. Somebody's going to embarrass you. That pride, that proud spirit, that ego that you have, that we have to learn to put that in check. When it comes to this understanding, let's understand this. Nothing that we do is of our own will. All the credit goes to the Creator. I repeat. Nothing that we do is of our own will. All the credit goes to the Creator. Let man say that let man put accolades upon you. Let man say you're great. And then when a man says that to you, always give the credit to Yah. That's a part of checking that pride, checking that ego. And that's very important for the growth of us as a people. That's very important to check our egos. It says here, Proverbs 13, verse 10. Proverbs 13:10, it says, I'm going to say this right now. It reads, by pride cometh only contention, but with the well-advised is wisdom. So we see the narrative here. Pride is not very good. Pride brings contention. Pride brings shame. Pride causes people to take people's lives, to lie, to do all these things. So that ego is dangerous if we don't learn how to control it. That narcissism in us is our destruction, and we have to learn to control it. I have to learn to control it. Hey, it jumps out of me sometimes. I'm not perfect. And I'm saying this because I know this about myself. The problem is the people that don't know this about themselves and think that their behavior is okay. Like I said, POTUS 45, he really thinks his behavior is okay. That's because he's going through his whole life not being checked. And no one ever telling him that he was wrong, or he doesn't care that he's wrong. You know what I'm saying? So those are things that we have to keep in mind, and those are things that we have to keep in check. It says here, Proverbs 14, verse 3. Proverbs 14:3 reads, in the mouth of the foolish is a rod of pride, but the lips of the wise shall preserve them. In the mouth of the foolish is a rod of pride. And we broke down pride, which is ego, which is that self-centeredness, which is all about me. Look at me. Look at how I look. Look at how great I am. Look at this. Look at that. Look at all the things I did. All of the things that I've done. All of the things that everybody should be talking about me. Everybody should be saying something about me. Everybody should be looking at me. The spotlight should be on me. I'm the center of the conversation. Everybody should say something about me. Although I was just a regular person. And it's okay being a regular person. There's nothing wrong with that. Being regular is okay. I'm believe you me, brothers and sisters, I'm as regular as they come. I got flaws. I make mistakes. I do dumb things, that's part of life. But I don't try to be more than what I am. I don't try to be more than what I am. I'm Uziel Lewy. For most part, when I introduce myself on these platforms, I introduce myself as Uziel Lewy. Now, if I write it down, my title is Chief. But when I introduce myself to people, most of the time, I say 99.9% of the times I introduce myself as Uziel Lewy. I don't even put the chief in front of it. You know why? Because things understood need not be spoken. People are gonna respect you regardless of whether you got chief in front of your title, you got prince, you got Cohen in front of your title. People respect you by the way that you conduct yourself and the way that you carry yourself, not by your titles and not by our titles. No way, shape, or form am I disrespecting the title, but what I'm saying is that our character as people is much better than than whatever titles we carry. Because I've seen some off-the-wall princes, I've seen some off-the-wall chiefs. That doesn't mean it doesn't mean anything if you are not carrying your character in the right manner. So we have to check ourselves before we wreck ourselves. Yeah, I might have made a mistake on the date. It is the 12th, so I'll correct it when the stream is over, okay? Yakel? So that's what's going on with that. Ego. Let's just think about that, you know. Let's think about our egos and checking it and how we going to check it and how we going to become better people. How we going to become better with our spouses, with our children, with each other, with brothers and sisters. Our ego, we got to check that. That pride. We got to get rid of that. We got to get rid of that pride. Proverbs 16:18. I hope y'all still here with me. It reads, pride goeth before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall. It says, Lifnei shever gaon, welifnei kishalom govaruach. Pride goeth before destruction, and a haughty spirit before the fall. So there it is. I mean, that's a simple explanation. So before you fall, your pride goes before you. See, nobody likes a proud person, a narcissist, and an egotistical person. What people love, even here in America, when you see it, the person who humbles themselves and admits that they're wrong, they usually have, second and third chances. You know what I mean? But the person who continues to deny certain things and don't come clean with their faults or what they done that's clear before everybody, they get shamed. They get shamed. They get shamed. And that wind of doubt always swirls around them. So we got to learn how to keep our pride in check. The next one, Proverbs 29:23. It reads, a man's pride shall bring him low, but he that is of a lowly spirit shall attain to honor. And I believe that that's what the brother Yair just said. The lower, it said the higher thou becomest, he said the more humble you shall be. So if you keep a lowly spirit, you don't act like you're king such and such. You don't walk around like a snob or acting like you are this great person. The more people gonna love you, the more they're gonna gravitate to you. You know why? Because people like to see people that they can relate to. That said, man, he make mistakes, I make mistakes, we make mistakes the same. That's what people like relating to. Not to the pompous spirit. People don't relate to that. You understand what I'm saying? And when you put yourself in certain positions, then you have to live what it is that you say you are. And that's where people fall short. People fall short in that sort of type of living. So these are things that we have to keep in check. And now, Proverbs 27 verse 2, it reads, let another man praise thee and not thine own mouth, a stranger and not thine own lips. Meaning, do not allow yourself to put yourself on that pedestal, brothers and sisters. It says, let another person do it. And like I said earlier, when they do it, give the glory to Yah. Because this is the funny thing, right? It says, let another man praise thee and not thine own mouth. It says here, it says, Yehalelka zar, right? Lehalel, it says Yehalel. So we know Hallel is praise, right? Hallel, from hallelujah, praise ye Yah, right? It says Wehalelka zar, welo. It says fika, right? Said let another man, right? Let another man praise thee and not thy own mouth. Fika is from pay, which is mouth, right? Fika, which is from your own mouth. It says nakri, a stranger. Let a stranger say you're great. Nakri, right? Stranger. Where al safateka, and not your own lips. It's plain and simple. Forsake pride. Forsake your ego. Forsake your narcissistic ways. Start working on yourself from now. Notice that about yourself. Notice what's the thing that brings you to the point where you feel like you're God's gift to the world, and humble yourself. This thing has never been about us. When you look at men, like my father-in-law, Chief Amos Ben Yehuda, always taught about pride and told us to keep ourselves in a humble state. He was a stickler for that, right? And when I was younger, I didn't understand why he always harped on that. But now that he's gone and I'm older, now I understand it, because you see certain things in yourself and you see it in other people and you say, wow, this is what he was talking about. This is what he was talking about. He stayed, he wants you to stay humble. Father wants us to stay humble. The Most High wants us to be humble. As when we start exalting ourselves and when we start thinking that we're better than what we really are, then that's when he brings us to a low position. And now, to give a great example of that, let us go to the book of Daniel chapter 4. We're going to speak about King Nebuchadnezzar. A great example of pride and arrogancy. Daniel chapter 4. So it says here, I, Nebuchadnezzar, was at rest in my house and flourishing in my palace. So now the book of Daniel what we look at as the Hebrew is really written in Aramaic. So Aramaic uses the same characters as the Hebrew. Actually, we adopted this form of writing from when we came out of Babylon, this was the way that the Aramaic was written. So when we came out of Babylon, we came out with this particular script of Hebrew. And you also have what they call the Paleo Hebrew, or the ancient Hebrew. This is what's called the modern Hebrew, right? But this is actually, this chapter in Daniel is written in Aramaic. So when you read some of the words, if you read Hebrew, it won't make sense to you. It's almost like, how can I say it? Let's say you read in English. You read in English and you read in French. You're using the same characters, but it doesn't, some words might not make sense to you. Some words are identical, but some words might not make sense to you. That's the easiest way for me to explain it. I don't know any of the teachers that are on that read the Hebrew and that teach the Hebrew. They could also correct me if I'm wrong, or they could give a better explanation of it, but that's my best explanation for it. So here, so it says, is having pride in Yisrael the same as the pride you are speaking of, Chief? Kind of. Yeah. Yeah, I'm talking about that same ego. It's the same type of pride because it all coincides with each other. It's all the same. You understand what I'm saying? It's that same type of mentality, you know. It's pompous, excellent. Pride doesn't only mean that word gaion. It doesn't only mean like pride as we know it, but that word also means pompous or excellency or thinking highly of yourself. It has a bunch of meanings. So let's go back to Daniel. I saw a dream which made me afraid, and imaginings upon my bed and the visions of my head affrighted me. So this is King Nebuchadnezzar had a dream that scared him. Scared him. Therefore made I a decree to bringing all the wise men of Babylon before me, that they might make known unto me the interpretation of the dream. So he says, I'm going to bring in all my wise men so that they could let me know exactly what is this dream that I had and give me an interpretation for the dream. Then came in the magicians, the enchanters, the Chaldeans, the astrologers, and I told the dream before them, but they did not make known unto me the interpretation thereof. So he brought in all his hocus pocus, his obia man, his hooba man, his enchanters, his tarot card readers, everything that you could think of, he brought him in so that they could give him, he told them the dream, and they could not decipher the dream or give him an interpretation. But at the last, Daniel came in before me, whose name is Belteshazzar, according to the name of my God, in whom is the spirit of the holy gods, and I told the dream before him. So this shows you how much Nebuchadnezzar reverence, or had the reverence he had, or respect he had for Daniel, that he named him after one of his gods. So now, very tricky thing, because today as Israelites, we you can't call me the name of a god. Let's remember, Daniel was in a different situation. So at this point, if the king called him that, that's what he responded to, Belteshazzar. Although it was the name of a god, Daniel responded to that because he was the head of the king's magicians and all these guys. Daniel had a reputation for being able to interpret dreams, and God will give him the interpretation of dreams, right? So this is just what it is. Oh, Belteshazzar, master of the magicians, because I know that the spirit of the holy gods is in thee. So now this is Nebuchadnezzar speaking, They believe in myriads of gods. So he's speaking from his perspective, from his understanding of what God is, right? So let's not be affrighted. This is Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, speaking. It said, "And no secret causeth thee trouble. Tell me the visions of my dream that I have seen, and the interpretation thereof. Thus were the visions of my head upon my bed. I saw and behold a tree in the midst of the earth, and the height thereof was great." So Nebuchadnezzar sees a great tree on the earth, big tree, right? Say like one of those oaks that just grow really big. The tree grew and was strong, and the height thereof reached unto heaven, and the sight thereof to the end of all the earth. So everybody in the earth could see the tree, right? This is all allegory in his dream and symbolic. The leaves thereof were fair, the fruit thereof much, and in it was wood for all, food for all, and the beasts of the field had shadow under it, right? So the tree was so big that all the beasts of the field had shadow under it. It had food for all. It had, everybody could rest underneath it. It was just a great tree. And the fowls of heaven dwelt in the branches thereof, and all flesh was fed of it. So everything was fed off this tree. And I saw in the visions of my head upon my bed, and behold, a watcher and the Holy One came down from heaven. So a watcher and the Holy One. This is all that he's imagining in his dream. So he said a watcher and a Holy One. So it's like in his interpretation, it's like he saw angels come down from heaven, right? He cried aloud and said, "Thus, hew down the tree and cut off his branches and shake off his leaves and scatter his fruit. Let the beasts get away from under it and the fowls from his branches. Nevertheless, leave the stump of his roots in the earth, even in a band of iron and brass, in the tender grass of the field. And let it be wet with dew of heaven, and let his portion be with the beasts and the grass of the earth. Let his heart be changed from man's, and let a beast's heart be given unto him. And let 7 times pass over him." So this is bugging out Nebuchadnezzar, because he's saying tree is cut down, angels come down from heaven, chop it down, scatter the fruit, get all the animals off of it, cut it down, put a band of iron over the stump. It's still getting dew, it's still getting wet. That means that, certain things is, they put the band over it of iron so that it won't sprout out. But it's still getting nourished, It's still getting nourished. It's still being nourished from underneath in the roots when it rains and stuff like that. But it's being broken down. And then it's talk about let his heart be changed from man's, and let a beast's heart be given unto him. So this is all perplexing Nebuchadnezzar, because he's like, how do you give a tree a heart? Like, this is the perplexed part of it. And all the stuff with the trees, with the branches and all this stuff. It says, and let 7 times pass over it. So this is confusing Nebuchadnezzar. He don't understand what's going on here. This is all confusing to him. Let me just make sure. Hold on. Just want to make sure everybody with me. Don't get confused. Just follow along the story as I said, the history as I say it. I'm getting to a point here, all right? So now, so let his heart be changed from a man's heart to the heart of a beast. So what's going on here? Why is a tree being told for a tree to be given the heart of a beast? So this is all perplexing to Nebuchadnezzar. So that's why he called in the magicians, but they couldn't give him the interpretation. But now he got Daniel in front of him, right? Verse 14. The matter is by the decree of the watchers, and the sentence by the word of the holy ones. So that's why I said the watchers was like the angels, to the intent that the living may know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men, and giveth it to whomever he will, and setteth up over it the lowest of men. So this is Daniel saying to to Nebuchadnezzar this. That, hold on for a second. It says that, for as much as all the wise men of my kingdom are not able to make known unto me the interpretation, but thou art able, for the spirit of the holy gods is in thee. Hold on. Verse 14, my bad. And the sentence by the word of the holy ones, to the intent that the living may know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men. So Yah is the one who rule in the kingdom on earth. That's why I say, whatever great honor comes upon you, always give the glory to God. Never, although people honor you and they do that. Like I said, I got my Man of Valor award from the house of the Hebrew congregation down in Charlotte, North Carolina. But the glory goes to God. Whatever God gave me that they saw fit for me to receive this award, it ain't because of me. It's because of the Most High. And the glory goes to God. And that's just the way it goes, you know. That's just the way it goes. It goes on and it says, this dream I, King Nebuchadnezzar, have seen, and thou, O Belteshazzar, declare the interpretation, for as much as all the wise men of my kingdom are not able to make known unto me the interpretation, but thou art able, for the spirit of the holy gods is in thee. So he know that Daniel gets interpretation from Yah. So he says, I know you are able to break it down. Then Daniel, whose name was Belteshazzar, was appalled for a while. So he was like appalled for a while, like, wow, this is really what's happening? You know, like he was like, you know, like when you see like, it's like he saw what's going to happen to him. And he was like, no, this can't be right. You know, and at the same time, when you stand before the king, you have to know what you're saying, because a lot of times kings don't want to hear bad news. A lot of people who were in the courts of the kings that brought bad tidings sometimes got killed just for bringing bad tidings. So Daniel he's appalled, and he's thinking, and he's affrighted. You know, he said, was appalled for a while, and his thoughts affrighted him. The king spoke and said, Belteshazzar, let not the dream or the interpreter affright thee. So the king calmed him down, like, look, whatever it is, don't let it scare you. Just let me know what it is. Belteshazzar answered and said, my lord, the dream be to them that hate thee, and the interpretation thereof to thine adversaries. Meaning, look, this dream right here is for those people that hate you and for all the people that are against you, because this is not a good dream right here. And the interpretation thereof, oh my goodness, you're not going to like it. That's basically what he's telling them. Verse 17. The tree that thou sawest, which grew and was strong, whose height reached unto the heaven, and the sight thereof to all the earth, whose leaves were fair, and the fruit thereof much, and in it was food for all, under which the beasts of the field dwelt, and upon whose branches the fowls of the heaven had their habitation. It is thou, O king, that art grown and become strong, for thy greatness is grown, and reacheth unto heaven, and thy dominion to the end of the earth. So Daniel told him, listen, that tree is you. And you're grown and you're strong. And you're ruling many kingdoms. But we read at the beginning, it says, everything comes from the Most High. So obviously there's something in Nebuchadnezzar's character, because you could become king of many regions and remain and be in good standing and everybody love you. But there's something to why this dream happened, and what's the results of the dream and the interpretation of the dream that we're going to read. and the results of what happens to Nebuchadnezzar as to why he ended up in the manner or in the fashion that he's going to remain. So here it goes. Verse 20. And whereas the king saw a watcher and a holy one coming down from heaven and saying, hew down the tree and destroy it. Nevertheless, leave the stump of the roots thereof in the earth, even a band of iron and brass, and the tender grass of the field, and let it be wet with the dew of heaven. Let his portion be with the beast of the field, till 7 times pass over him. This is the interpretation, O king, and it is the decree of the Most High which is come upon my lord the king, that thou shalt be driven from men, and thy dwelling shall be with the beasts of the field, and thou shalt be made to eat grass as oxen, and shall be wet with the dew of heaven. 7 times shall pass over thee, till thou know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men, and giveth it to whomever he will. So, hey, king, you're going to be made to eat grass like a beast. You're going to be out there, and the dew of heaven is going to fall on you. You're going to be cut down. So the whole interpretation is the tree is cut down. That's Nebuchadnezzar. He's cut down. The symbolism of the cut down is he's being humble because he's too proud. And we're going to see that word later. But he's too proud. So he's being cut down because of his haughtiness, of his pride, of his ego, of his narcissism. This is why we have to be careful, right? Nebuchadnezzar was cut down, the king of the earth, because of his ego. And whereas it was commanded to leave the stump of the roots of the tree, thy kingdom shall be sure unto thee. After that thou shalt have known that the heavens do rule, right? So he says 7 times shall pass over him. 7 times meaning 7 years are going to go past where you're going to remain in this state as a beast, right? But God is not going to take away your kingdom from you. Why? Because he needs you to testify at the end of those 7 years that God is king. So it's not your glory. It's not the legacy you created. It's what God has given you. That's what it's about. I'm going to continue with the history. 24. Wherefore, O king, let my counsel be acceptable unto thee. Break off thy sins by almsgiving, and thine iniquities by showing mercy to the poor, if there may be a lengthening of thy prosperity. So Daniel told him, he said, listen, I'll give you a bit of advice. Break off your sins. I don't know why God is doing this to you, but break off your sins by almsgiving. So this is a way of breaking off sins or getting sins away from us. It said almsgiving is like, it's like lending to God. That's just a saying, right? It's saying thine iniquities by showing mercy to the poor, right? So start to do some good stuff so that you could get some mercy in the bank. Basically, this is what Daniel is telling. If there may be a lengthening of thy prosperity, maybe God will see it and lengthen the time before this happens, or maybe take it away. Verse 25. All this came upon the king Nebuchadnezzar. Verse 26. At the end of 12 months, he was walking upon the royal palace of Babylon. So a year go past. People tend to forget things in a year time. He probably was scared when it first happened, but a year went past. The king spoke and said, is it not this great Babylon which I have built for a royal dwelling place by the might of my power for the glory of my majesty? I. Remember what I told you. The root of the word ego is from the Latin, which means I. That ego is jumping out in that verse 27 right there. The king spoke and said, is it not this great Babylon which I have built for a royal dwelling place by the might of my, it's still I, power, and for the glory of my, it's still I, majesty. And he sealed it right there with those words. And let's see what happens. While the word was in the king's mouth, there fell a voice from heaven. O King Nebuchadnezzar, to thee it is spoken, the kingdom is departed from thee. It says, thou shalt be driven from men, and thy dwelling shall be with the beasts of the field, and thou shalt be made to eat grass as oxen. 7 times shall pass over thee, till thou know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men, and giveth it to whomever he will. The same hour was the thing fulfilled upon Nebuchadnezzar, and he was driven from men, and did eat grass as oxen, and his body was wet with the dew of heaven, till his hair was grown like eagle's feathers, and his nails like bird's claws. So his nail, he stayed on treating. He became like a wild man. He lost his mind. This is what happened. He was out there eating grass like the beast. He lost his mind, but God didn't take his kingdom away from him. They kept him wherever he was, watching him. God preserved his kingdom, but God just had to show him that I throw away your pride and your ego. I'm God. I'm the creator. Verse 31, and at the end of the days of Nebuchadnezzar, and at the end of the days, I, Nebuchadnezzar, lifted up my eyes unto heaven. Mine understanding returned unto me, and I blessed the Most High, and I praised and honored him that liveth forever. All glory goes to the Creator. You do not take glory for yourself. Even when people boast of you, you always say hallelujah. Give glory to God. Even with that simple word, hallelujah, meaning praise be to Yah. Even if somebody's giving you all these hallelujah, blessed be the Most High God. For his dominion is an everlasting dominion, and his kingdom from generation to generation. He made Nebuchadnezzar testify to the greatness of God. And all the inhabitants of the earth are reputed as nothing, and he doeth according to his will in the host of heaven and among the inhabitants of the earth, and none can stay his hand or say unto him, what doest thou? This is Nebuchadnezzar testifying. At the same time mine understanding returned unto me, and for the glory of my kingdom my majesty and my splendor returned unto me, and my ministers and my lords sought unto me, and I was established in my kingdom, and surpassing greatness was added unto me. Why? Because the humbler now that he became, God gave him more. And that's the things that we have to look at. The humbler we become, the more God gives us. The more humble we become, the more he gives us, the more he provides for us. And this is what Nebuchadnezzar had to realize. And now the last verse. Now I, Nebuchadnezzar, praise and extol and honor the King. Verse 34, now I, Nebuchadnezzar, praise and extol and honor the King of heaven, for all his works are truth, and his ways justice, and those that walk in pride he is able to abase. Those that walk in ego, those who are narcissistic, he is able to abase, humble. Now the word for pride in Aramaic is gewah. 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 That's pride in Aramaic, and it has the same meaning. So brothers and sisters, I'm hoping and praying that you got something out of this lesson. I'm hoping and praying that you understand that pride is no good for us. I'm hoping and praying that you understand that this is something that we have to work within ourselves. Give glory to the Creator. Let the Creator, to God be the glory, as we say. To the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob be the glory. We need to begin to walk with that first. Give glory to the Creator. I thank the Creator of heaven and earth for bringing me here tonight to be able to share this lesson with each and every one of you. I hope that you gotten some understanding from this. I hope that I didn't confuse any of you. I hope that I didn't offend anyone. And I hope that you were enlightened and that you will walk with the things that you hear. I don't know if any one of you want the notes that I use for tonight, but if you do, I'm going to put it in the stream, the link to the notes. If y'all want the link to the notes, I'm going to put it on the stream, and that way you could have the notes that I put up there. I mean, I make notes basically for us to have, and that's the lesson. That's about always give glory to the Most High. Wait for people to praise you. Don't praise yourself. Don't talk about the things that you did and all the great things that you've done, and leave for other people to do that for you. All right. Don't always look to be in every story and in everybody's history. Sometimes you look at yourself more than what you really are. Be happy with what God has given you. And that's that. You understand what I'm saying? Forsake pride. Get away from haughtiness. So the notes, as far as the notes, if y'all are interested, just let me know if you want the notes. Really simple notes, but if you put all these notes together, it helps you out in the future. And the thing with notes is, don't just throw them to the side. Don't just ignore notes. Don't just ignore notes. Make sure you what's the name of the notes? You take care of them. You put them in files. From the notes, you might be able to create a book later. All right, so Torah, my people, it was great once again, but I'm tired, so I won't be taking any calls tonight. But I hope you got something out of the lesson. I hope that I've enlightened you, and I hope that that the Most High God bless each and every one of you with all the desires of your mind that you desire in righteousness. May Yah continue to bless Kobe Yisrael scattered in the four corners of the earth, and continue to support. If you're new, please subscribe to the channel, like the channel, like the video. Oh, before we go on Facebook, please give the thumbs up to the video. Please, everybody on Facebook, at the sound of my voice, please give the thumbs up to the video. On YouTube, on YouTube, give the thumbs up to the video. Share it to your different social media. Just put it out there. That's the way we get the word out there. We all have to be messengers, fishers and hunters in the things that we do. So everybody on YouTube, I want you right underneath the video to press the thumbs up icon, and also to, if you're new, subscribe to the channel, and share the information. So once again, hoping and praying that you got something out of the lesson. Thank you all for joining us. I really appreciate each and every one of you. I appreciate everyone online who joins in, who are so dedicated to supporting us. Ima Kasquia, Ima Avared. I got so many people online. Marsha Yisrael, Yamima, everybody, man, Max, he know who he is. And I know some people are going to kill me because they're going to say I forgot them, but I didn't really forget you. I'm just tired. Our sister Beulah out in Chicago, everybody keep your prayers up for her. Everybody who listens to us, man, let me do it justice and go through the list before people begin to kill me. Kana Lewi, Beautiful Forever, Yair Emet, Basheva Yisrael, Ima Kasquia, Ima Avared, Naomi Bat Yisrael, Cornice Wilburn, Shalom. Edna P. Yakel. Israel. Kesedia Yehuda. Oh, a couple of weeks ago when I was speaking, there was somebody from Grenada, right? Is the family from Grenada on with us tonight? If you're on with us, we have another family in Grenada that we could link you up with. So let me get your number in Grenada, and that way I could reach out to that family because they wanted to link up with y'all. Our brother Shimshon and our sister Quadima out there in Grenada. And like I said, I want to start meeting with some of you, for some of you to start opening up. You got to train. You train, but you know, we fishers and hunters. Once we learn this, we go out there and we teach this truth, and we open up places to where people could come and call it a refuge, to come in and call on the name of the Creator. Malachiah ben Yisrael, Shabbat Shalom. Let me see here. I just want to make sure I get all the names. I said Ima Havared, Marsha Yisrael. There's so many people. All of you that support us. Our More Tavel, Moradina, all my peoples out there. Brother Truck, good to see you in the chat. Good to see you. Says here, Miriam Yehuda, Shea Yaakov, and my Bane, my Ozia Lewy, Ashriel Lewy, and everybody else that joins us that I might have forgotten. All the people, you know, I love y'all. Hey, from the UK, thank you for tuning in. It's like 3 o'clock in the morning over there, and you with us. It's a great thing. It's a great thing. Hallelujah. Good to see that you here with us, dedicated and listening. Blessed be Yehovah. Marcia Segula, Shabbat Shalom for his glory 365. Everybody who joins us, Joseph Clemens, we thank you for supporting us and continue to putting us in and allowing us to teach you as D.C.B, Congregation D.C.B. You get to see me on Friday nights, but I've been doing this if some of y'all been following from the Shema Yisrael days, I've been doing this from that time. So this is nothing new. This is what I've been doing for almost 10 years now. I think it's about close to 10 years that we've been online doing this thing. I should have had like a 10-year celebration, like some sort of something. Put up the best of the best. But it's great. I appreciate it. I enjoy doing it. That's why I do it. I don't do it to, I'm not competing with anyone. I'm not doing any of that. This is what I do. I feel like the people need something on Shabbat night to keep them entertained, to keep them thinking about Yah, so that you don't get into too much of any other stuff. And basically, this is what is, this is how I came up with this along with my brother Prince Shem, that used to hold it down for me when in the Pal Talk days, and everybody that will help us, So we also got the brothers. You join us tomorrow morning, 11 a.m. Eastern Time on the same channel, to where we will be going through the another portion, prayers and praise and doing all of that. So thank you once again for joining us. Don't forget to like the video. Don't forget to share it. Don't forget to do all those things. Good to see you, Sister Marsha. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel. May the Most High God of heaven and earth bless you all. And may the Most High God be with you all. Hallelujah. Shalom, shalom.